Welcome back to Amateurs Podcast. This is our first episode back since March Madness ended, since the Florida Gators capped off one of the greatest seasons ever with an insane victory in the national championship game. A lot happened this year, but one of the most notable things about this season was that the tournament was mostly chalk. So hopefully, you know, looking back, we were able to predict those chalk teams who was going to be easily dominant. Our bracket video, if you haven't checked that out, we actually had a 99 percentile bracket. We missed a couple ones in the first round, but because it was so chalk, we picked a few of the right 5-12 upsets, and then we were good to go. So we had a pretty solid bracket. Um, Next year's our year for sure. We're going to make the first ever perfect one. I already feel it. But earlier in 2024, we made our preseason predictions about each of the Power Five conferences, counting the Big East, about who was going to be good. We split them into 5 tiers. We had natty contenders, locks, bubble teams, teams that could surprise with a few good wins, and then sorry teams. So I went back and looked at all our tiers, and we are going to look back at some pretty bad misses on our part. There were some pretty egregious ones.
But
Um,
some, but in our defense, we had some pretty good wins too.
Yeah, but this video is not going to be titled "We were right about this team." It's going to be titled "We were wrong about these teams." How
Yeah,
I decided if we were wrong is if the team was 2 tiers, the tier we placed the team in was 2 tiers off or more. So if we placed you in a natty contender and you were a bubble team, actuality, we were wrong. We placed you in bubble and you were a sorry team, we were wrong. Um, so I split us up into teams I was wrong about, teams Rhett was wrong about, and then teams that both of us were wrong about. I would like to point out he was wrong about 7, I was wrong about 6. So do what you will with that information. But we can get started with the ACC. So in teams that we were both wrong about, UNC. Originally, we both had them as a natty contender, and they were squarely a bubble team.
yeah. In retrospect, they really lacked front court talent.
Yeah.
It took them a while to get comfortable using Van Allen Lubin. I'm not sure he makes. I mean, when he was in the starting lineup towards the end of the season, they were on a roll. Of course, they were also playing the very depleted ACC. Also, for reasons that are completely unclear to me, Ian Jackson was barely visible until midway through the season. And now he's portaling. So,
Yeah.
huh. Um, that made no sense. So I just there were personnel issues and roster construction there.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure. I think most people, this isn't just us, everyone had them as a top 10 team, completely overlooked just how valuable Armando Bacot has been for the past 5 years. And when you take away a guy that's a guaranteed double-double and you replace him in with like kind of doing it by committee, that doesn't always work. And then they missed on a few transfers. Cade Tyson was a complete miss.
yeah.
Um, Ian Jackson, they mishandled his minutes. And the stuff compounded and they couldn't win a quad one game. So
Yeah, I also thought Washington was going to take that leap because he
yeah,
showed it at times he had it, and he just never really did.
he reminded me of Samson Johnson for UConn. A lot of people were high on the guy going into the year, like, oh, he's going to take the leap. He was behind Snogo, behind Kling, and now it's his turn, and it just wasn't. Um,
There's a big difference, though. One is a walking foul, the other one is not.
yeah. So the next ACC team we were wrong about, I hate to do it to you, brother. Miami. This was one of the biggest drops. We originally had them as a lock, and they were certified sorry.
Yeah, I it's still inexplicable to me. He brought in a good Jim Larinaga brought in a good transfer portal class.
Yeah.
Guys with experience, guys with talent, size. They just couldn't play defense. So if a fan wants to say, well, Pack was injured a good part of the year, it didn't matter. When he was healthy, they were terrible. They didn't play Bethea much. Well, that didn't matter because when they did play Bethea, he wasn't much better.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there was
they
just, yeah.
Jalen Blackman's a
He
20
left.
scorer. Yeah, he
Oh,
left, but I'm saying he was a 20-point scorer. They cut his shots in half. It's like, all right.
yeah, I think just there's like this was a ton of adversity for the Hurricanes this season with Nigel Pack injury, with Jalen Blackman just leaving the team, Jim Larinaga stepping down. Um, and the writing was on the wall kind of right before conference play where this team is going to be pretty bad.
And they were that. I mean, we were way, way off. This might
Yeah,
be the
I
biggest
mean,
single miss.
on paper they weren't bad, but I mean, one bright thing though is the future is looking up. Um,
Yeah.
Definitely with Jai Lucas coming in, the guy can recruit his tail off as we're seeing in the portal, and I really appreciate that he's having a focus of bringing in Florida kids because
Yeah.
so far he's got Malik Renault, Miami native, Trey Johnson, Tallahassee native, and Ernest Uday, Orlando native. And I think with how talented Florida is, for Miami not to have, I don't think a single Florida native on the team is unexcusable. And then they also just hired Andrew Moran, which is the head coach of Columbus, who's won 4 straight state championships with the Boozers.
Did you say boozers?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think they've already signed, but Jai Lucas was the one to recruit them, and Andrew Moran was their high school coach. So maybe if Caden hits the portal next year,
And there's a young Richardson there.
Dante Allen taking a visit. There's a
There's a
lot of
lot of momentum, and there's guys in the portal, Josh Harris, Josiah Miles, both out in North Florida. They're local kids, and
yeah,
Mr. Dean, he's a local kid. There's talent out there that are still available, I believe.
yeah. So I really appreciate that from Jai. Next ACC team we were wrong about, we had Syracuse. We had them on the bubble, and they were sorry.
Well, I can tell you why. Donovan Freeman only played in half the games. Their defense was historically bad. They gave up 78 points a game, and you couldn't offset that by how much they scored. And also, their 3-point shooting was it was like 33%, which is fine, but defense and Freeman killed them. Um, that coach is under some pressure, I would
Oh
think.
yeah, hot seat all day. I
Yeah.
think looking back, obviously, we thought the ACC was going to be better than it was. I don't know if this roster was obviously hindsight's 2020, but I don't think this roster was worthy of a bubble spot. Me
No.
personally, a team I miss in the ACC, I put out Virginia in the bubble, and they were sorry. They went under 500. I said in the video, however, I said in the video that was because I respected Tony Bennett, and he stepped down before the season started. So I don't take any blame for that.
You should take blame because I also mentioned during that video that they had no talent. And part of the reason Tony Bennett left, I don't care what he says, is they had no talent.
Well,
Um,
what am I
so,
supposed to do? A Hall of Fame coach steps down?
well,
That's
Jim
not on me.
Larinaga stepped down.
That's not on me, man.
Who did I miss in the ACC?
You didn't miss anyone individually in the ACC. I mean, you missed 3 teams.
Well,
I just
individual.
put Virginia on top of you.
Yeah.
Relax. We'll get to your misses. Some egregious ones at that.
Yeah.
We'll move to the SEC, the best conference ever. Um, both we both missed Arkansas. We originally had them as a national contender, and they were a bubble team, I would say for sure.
It's not a bad. It's not. I think it's a closer call
Yeah, I
than
mean they
that.
made the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I don't feel real bad about that one.
Yeah.
They did start off though. Could have been a historic miss on our part when the way they started off 0-5 SEC play.
Yeah.
Shout out Calipari for saving our rep. We had Missouri. We originally had them in the 4th tier as a surprise team, maybe, and they were a lock all day.
Yeah, well, you go from a winless season, like we talked about before, to very, very good. And I think we underestimated the power of some of those transfers. Yeah, it's a miss.
Yeah.
They
Um,
may have been, by the way, they may have been the biggest positive surprise in the country. I think they set a
oh, for
record
sure.
for turnaround.
Like of turnaround wins, 100%.
Yeah.
So we also missed on Oklahoma. We originally had them as sorry, and they were a bubble team. That was because we didn't know Jeremiah Fears was going to be that good.
Yeah, and I thought also we disrespected Porter Moser a little bit. He's a better coach than we give him credit for. I mean, they didn't have a great season towards the end, but they were good enough.
Yeah, I mean they were in the tournament.
Yeah.
And then Vandy, we originally had them as sorry, and they were a lock. They were in that field.
Yep. Pretty easily. They had some big wins in the SEC.
Huge
Interesting to
wins.
see that Jalen Carey, who's been with Kevin Byington at 2 stops, is in the portals.
He's going to Tennessee.
Yeah, right. I was surprised though that that's a break. You know, you follow your coach from JMU to Vandy, and then it's like, I'm gonna go
Yeah,
cross.
their leading scorer Jason Edwards is also Portalink. I
Mm.
don't know where he committed. I think it might have been a Big East school, but they also have received commitments from Frankie Collins and Jalen Washington. Um,
Wait, the Jalen,
UNC. Huh?
the Jalen Washington.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the nature of the sport these days. You have a great season and people just leave you. Um, but then okay, so teams that we were individually wrong about, I was not individually wrong about anyone in the SEC because I just know ball like that. You had some bad misses. Georgia, you originally had them as sorry. They were a lock.
I think a lock is a stretch, but yes,
They
I missed
were,
one.
what were they, 8 seed? 9 seed? I mean,
Yeah, well, that's
okay.
by definition a Power Five bubble team. Um, in my defense, Azanua was better than I thought. He didn't start at Montverde, and
But it's almost like they had Derek Queen in front of them.
Silas Demary, yeah, which leads to another issue. But Silas Demary took that step in the second year, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, I missed on him. Credit to Mike White. I'll take that L.
No credit Mike White too much. They got their butts handed.
He laid the foundation at Gainesville.
Really?
Yeah, poured the brick.
He hit one of the I'm not fired, I quit.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
SEC team you were wrong about, Mississippi State. You originally had them as sorry. They were also an 8 seed or a 9 seed. Didn't respect Chris Jans enough.
But I agreed. I did.
He's a
If
good coach, man.
if you look at that roster, it's like, okay, Josh Hubbard, I get it. And then what? And the then what turned out to be 5, 6 guys who all could play a little bit, you know. Yeah, it's a miss.
Okay, we will move on now to the Big 12. Teams we were both wrong about. Kansas State. We originally had them as a lock, and they were a tier 4 team. This one, I was really disappointed in this because I was excited to see this team. I thought this was a very good team on paper, and I like Jerome Tang. I like some of the pieces they had, and it just did not work out, unfortunately.
They did have a stretch middle to late of the season where they were unbeatable almost. And I thought, oh, this is their push. But
Yep.
yeah,
That's what I think. That's what made them a good surprise team because they were beating some good teams. Um, but I think that's just the nature of how it's going to be sometimes in the portal era. You got teams like a Kansas State, like a USC, who you just have an agglomeration of talent that just doesn't all work because it's
yeah,
not. You're not recruiting your players as much. If you're like a high school kid, like, oh, this kid's going to play my system. You're recruiting the talent that's available.
right. But you know what you're going to get,
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, and then they also had some adversity with Acor leaving after 7 games.
Yeah,
Um, but it just didn't
it's a
work out
miss.
with them.
Yeah,
Next team we both missed on BYU. We originally had them as a good surprise, and they were a lock. That I think Richie Saunders, we did not expect him to be the star he was. And then Coach Young is a great coach. Obviously, he's come from the NBA level. He put in his system perfectly. And I think they are definitely going to be one of those teams. I think we've mentioned this earlier that's going to be known for their system.
Yeah, I think if you look back at the tape, I'm going to hedge here. I believe I was just slightly higher on them. I was kind of torn than you were. So I'm not willing to take a complete L here.
We both
But
had him in tier 4.
right, but I think I said I feel bad about this. If you check the tape, how are they paying their players? They've got AJ Bad Santa coming in, and then they just gave 3.5 million to
Rob Wright. And then they also have, a couple other top recruits. Um, one word for you, or two words for you: Mormon money.
it's wow, that pay structure
Hey
there,
man,
man.
you don't tax the church, them
If
boys
I'm
coming to play.
if I'm Richie Saunders, I'm saying, hey, what about me?
Yeah, they got to pay him too. I mean that. I mean, and we're kind of seeing it where people are transferring out. This is definitely a result of they can't pay them as much as their market value is. We got Dallin Hall is transferred out. I think he just committed, but I can't remember. Cannon Catching is transferring out.
Yeah,
Igor Demine is entering the draft. Something that I don't know if he would do if they could pay him a ton of money. He was kind of a fringe first rounder. Uh,
yeah. I don't know. I think I've seen he's been all over the first round. I
yeah,
mean,
but I think them not being able to pay him as much. I mean, they have about $9 million spent on two players. That's insane.
yeah, right.
And AJ DeBance's deal is a not a guarantee. We don't know the number. I've heard 7. I've heard 5.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's an interesting pay structure. We're going to talk about that more when we portal about how some conferences can pay more um, than others. But
yeah, I mean, I have a whole episode planned out of just discussing is college basketball broken. But let's keep up with this episode. For the Big 12 teams, I personally missed Arizona State. I originally had them on the bubble, and they were sorry. Um, I'm done respecting this half of the Hurleys. Dan, savant. Bobby, waste talent.
how does he have a job?
I
He
don't
was on
know
the hot
every
seat
year.
going.
Like, I don't know how he's not fired.
That's what I'm saying.
He's
He was in the hot seat going into the season, lands two great young prospects, and we get this.
yeah, and they both transferred out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand it. And then I'm sure he has another 5-star coming in or something. This man, like, he's got to be the head recruiter for a team because he can do that all day.
Yeah.
The X's and O's, no. Um,
Great player in his day, but yeah.
and then I was also this one hurts. This one hurts. I was wrong about Texas Tech.
Well, we both were to different degrees.
Yeah, you originally had them in the bubble, and I
Yeah.
originally had them as a tier 4 team, and
Yes.
they were a national championship contender. They should have made the Final Four. They didn't just hand the Gators the game.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think I remember me personally saying I didn't think Toppin. I underestimated Toppin, and he was a first team All Big 12. He might have been the Big 12 Player of the Year.
It was, and also Darian Williams.
Darren Williams,
I,
yes.
I'm, we just missed that. And they had good enough guards.
Christian Anderson, the freshman, produced a ton for a freshman.
Yeah.
So
And the
yeah,
coach. And we underestimated McCausland.
McCaslin's a great
Yeah.
coach. He wins everywhere he goes. This is another situation like we're talking about BYU. They're paying Toppin $4 million to come back. That maybe is why Darian Williams is entering the portal. We'll see.
Yes.
And then teams you were wrong about, we said Texas Tech, West Virginia. You originally had them as sorry, and they were in the bubble. They were the bubble team. The governor made a statement about it.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't think that's. I mean, they had some couple top 10 wins.
Yeah, but did anyone expect that guard to do what he did?
Javon Small, he was a bucket.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Okay, now Big Ten. We both missed on Rutgers. We had them as an original lock. They were a tier 4 team. Um, you know, when the third leading scorer is 7 a game, this was Coach Pikel, I don't know if he'll ever get another 5-star again.
I don't know if he's ever going to get an NIL budget again because he blew it all on two players. And any fans who say, well, these two guys shouldn't be lottery picks because they couldn't get their team to. No, the guys who surrounded them, I don't
They
want to
missed
criticize. I don't want to
on
criticize.
every single other transfer. They had Durkak from Quinnipiac or Merrimack, one of those two.
Merrimack, yeah.
He averaged 5 a game. They missed on Acuff from Eastern
Acuff.
Michigan.
Yeah.
He averaged like 4 points a game. And I mean, the freshmen, they were made out to be.
Yep.
Even the third one, Somerville, he was the third leading scorer.
Yeah. 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 And he was hurt at the beginning.
Yeah, he was.
At the beginning. Yeah.
The third freshman was our third leading scorer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was a once in a lifetime opportunity as a coach to coach 2 top 5 picks at the same time. And just blew it.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to see that again. Although Dabanza and Rob Wright.
No, he's not top 5.
No, but he's pretty darn good.
There have been some rumors. Well, Duke, we could see that all the time.
Yeah.
Malawachi Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
However, there are rumors circling around the Twitter sphere that Tyron Stokes, the number 1 2026, is not playing AAU this year and is a prime candidate to reclass. And I've heard the Cougars' name thrown out there, considering he was high school teammates at one point and travel ball teammates with Dabanza.
Yeah, he's a very good player. I just, why would you go there? They can't pay you that much, right?
No, he hasn't even reclassed yet. However, I'm just saying the rumors I've heard sprinkled around. You got to keep your ear to the ball on these things, man.
By the way, before we totally leave the Big 12, it should be noted that I know, but I want to go back a second. We missed on Kansas.
Yeah, I know. We originally both had them as a natty contender, and they were in the field, but they were nowhere near that.
No.
But I think, I mean, they were a 7 seed. They weren't on a bubble. That's why I didn't put them on there. But yeah, we definitely missed on Kansas. That was, like I said, a Kansas State, a USC situation. So much talent on paper that just didn't figure it out. And I think building the team around Hunter Dickinson didn't really
He's the only
work
guy
out.
Produced.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like just the spacing around him wasn't great.
No.
Like he produced, but he produced in a way that I don't think is like conducive to winning a national championship. I don't think he's produced for 5 years and never has his team been good, and he's been at 2 amazing schools that have had success both before and after him. I'm not blaming it all on the guy. He was all Big 12, but I don't think he's the first option on a national championship team. And then also we had, Zeke Mayo was okay, but DeJuan Harris, like I've been saying, I think he regressed. AJ Storr,
yeah,
Rylan Griffin, who's back in the portal. I've heard talks about him going back to Alabama. He should have never left in the first place. But okay, Big Ten.
Wisconsin.
This one, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
we originally had them as a Tier 4 team. They were a lock. And I remember saying we only had them in a Tier 4 out of respect for Greg Gard.
Greg Gard. Yeah, I remember
we didn't respect him enough.
Vividly.
We didn't also respect John Tonje enough.
Yeah, put some respect on that man's name. I had no idea. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He did not perform at any prior stop.
He wasn't bad at Colorado State, but that was like 3 years ago.
Wasn't bad, but he wasn't this guy.
Yeah. And I mean, they really didn't even have another guy.
No, they did. His name's Greg Gard.
Yeah. He was running the show.
Yes.
But that was a bad miss because they were a very good team. So let's go on to the Big Ten. I missed on Indiana. I originally had them as a natty contender. I wanted a natty contender for the Big Ten. I remember you didn't have one. I just wanted to have one in that tier.
Yeah.
Um, and they weren't it. They were a bubble team. Like I said, the portal era is going to be defined by just tons of talent on paper, guys who produced at previous stops and just couldn't put it all together. Miles Rice was a beast for Washington State. Umar Balu was amazing for Arizona. Ken Carlisle showed flashes at Stanford, and even Luke Goody from Indiana. Just it didn't all work out together.
Yep.
You were wrong about now. Your Big Ten sucked.
Yeah.
You had Maryland as a Tier 4 team.
Yeah.
That was a Sweet 16 team. The Crab Five. What
Yeah.
happened there?
I don't know, but we're going to talk about that coach coming up very shortly.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the next.
I missed on Michigan State. I know it's Tom Izzo. I underestimated the impact that Jace Richardson would have. I didn't think Izzo would trust him. He hadn't had a good freshman player. I mean, they were 5 stars, but they had never produced.
Yeah.
Booker got better. They just rebounded.
Booker didn't even play down the stretch of the season.
No, but Izzo, he got them to play his game. Ultimately, they were fatally flawed. They couldn't shoot the ball.
Elite 18. That's a natty contender.
I blew it. I missed it.
I would like to say on Kevin Willard's part, he's not the reason they were good. He has one Sweet 16 wins in 16 years of coaching. And I think he completely mishandled everything about this season. I think the reason they were good is 5 players.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Kevin Willard fan.
Well, yeah. Wait till I rant on it.
Okay, and now for the Big East.
The Big Least.
The Big
You were
Least. We
terrible.
did not. Both of us did not miss on. What happened?
You were terrible in the Big East.
I missed 2 that were bad.
Well, one was really a bad miss.
Okay, let's start with you then. You had Providence as a lock. Might have
Yeah,
been the worst team in the conference.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Bryce Hopkins played 3 games. He's their best player by far. In those 3 games, he averaged 17 points. Wesley Cardet, who we mentioned as a real key transfer. Remember, you had them. They're a miss.
Had them on the bubble, not a lock. That's
no, I got it. But Cardet, absolutely, his scoring went more than half down. Although he shot the ball better. If you don't have your best player, but for 3 games, yeah, I'll take the L, but this one's completely explainable.
Okay, and then my big miss in the Big East, I had St. John's on the bubble. They were what? Are they a natty contender though? They lost round of 32.
They were what, the 2nd seed?
Yeah, obviously they were a natty contender, but they didn't show it in the tournament, so I don't feel that bad about it.
Anybody can have a bad shooting game.
Bad shooting season.
Yeah, well, there's that. But
I think
Patino's not missing in the portal.
Yeah, Patino's cooking in the portal right now.
Yeah.
I think that those were all the teams we missed on. And I mean, I say those were all like they weren't a bunch of teams. But yeah.
I think we did pretty good. Some of the teams we missed on, Carolina, Kansas, everybody missed on them.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, yeah, that one's gonna hurt. We owe Grant. Grant, if you want to come on the podcast, we owe you a beer.
We will personally apologize to you.
Yes. On one knee.
Relax. Greg Gard, also.
Also,
probably a bigger apology.
Steve Peichel?
You're not welcome on this show.
No. Well, he is.
Yeah, we'd love to have you actually.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, that was our look back on what teams we were wrong about. Let us know in the comments what teams you were wrong about. I know UNC, Kansas. Who else did you think was going to be really good? And yeah, we are definitely going to have some more recap action coming your way. We got a couple fun college basketball videos planned. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode. Peace.